Today, I want to just talk a little bit about something that I've been thinking of. Like, I've been reading before bed past few nights. I've been actually cracking open the Vedas, a little light bedtime reading, having crazy dreams. And the Vedas are really beautiful. And one thing that I've realized is that through all dharmic literature, even the most heady philosophical things like the Yoga Vashishta, all the way through the Puranas, all the Itihasas, the Rishis who composed all of these texts, all of these discourses, all of these tales, all of these stories, the compilers, they're all artists. That is what they are at their core, is they are artists. These are people who were constructed, who were creations of consciousness, right? Who then mind consciousness, go inward to basically extract gems of insight and wisdom, right? And these are things that helps us understand the natural order of things, which is called Rita, right? Rita is the natural order of things, and that is a concept which is very closely tied to Dharma. Dharma is the upholding of Rita, which is actually just the natural order of things. And when I was reading the Vedas, I'm looking at what they're doing, and these aren't just poets. They're actually they're like poet scientists, right? These are people who are using their knowledge of Rita, of understanding and discerning the natural order of things, to construct ideas of Dharma, right? So they didn't just start with wanting to make laws, right? Actually, it started with them understanding the natural world around them: wind, fire, all of these things, water, lightning, and constructed conception of that world, which ultimately then constituted the laws of Dharma, right? And to me, that's fascinating. But they are poets. More than anything, first and foremost, they are poets. You read all these hymns from all the Vedas, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. They're using metaphor, and they're full of ecstasy and passion and devotion. Everything is in verse, and it's all full of love. You know what I mean? All these verses are there. They're just odes. I love fire, right? Oh, it's extolling all the praises, right? It's extolling all the virtues, offering the highest, most profound praises to, it starts with things that are very elemental: wind, fire, water, etc., right? Soma, right? They're giving homage to this substance, this other substance which has appeared in consciousness along with us, right? And how they've combined with it and they've taken it and it's helped them to achieve these ecstatic states of insight as well. So they're also paying homage to that, right? And it's they're mining consciousness for insights that they are in awe of, not as something that they possess or that they create, but as something that is possessing them. Right. And it's them expressing it with love. And to me, I think to me, it drives home the fact, because out of all of these things, what did they do then? They started constructing rituals, right? And this is poetry in motion, not to use a horrible, dumb cliche like that, but it's poetry in a very concrete form, these rituals, which are there to then also express the devotion, express the love, right? And the thing is, like, when you sit in front of a fire, it's an amazing experience, actually. You sit in front of the fire and you were like, wow, this is a portal. You know what I mean? This is a thing that is conveying a sacrifice forward, right? Conveying it to another realm of reality. You're seeing that, and it's incredible. And to be a human being, what I've realized from reading the Rishis, to be somebody, devotion is not a rote activity of just doing, it's not just a procedural rote activity. It is a creative act of revealing the true self. And that's what I feel like any art is trying to do. It is uncovering the reality of a thing, right? No matter how small or how large it is, it's always doing that, right? We're always taking the disjunctions that we're seeing in life, reconciling them through a dialectic process, which requires insight and inscape, you going within to, again, we're all mining those gems as creative beings, even as if you're not an artist, right? No matter what it is that you're doing, you're always having to go in to solve a problem, to find order in things, right? And that's what these people are doing. They understood that to be human was an inherently creative act, I believe. And I think that's something that we can all kind of embrace no matter what it is that we do, whether we're artists or we're mathematicians or scientists or whatever it is. we can really embrace this as a concept of whatever it is, we can make it into a creative act. And I mean, the Vedas, I don't know how much of the Vedas you've read. I think you've read quite a few.
I read a very good, but a very academic translation of the Rig Veda.
Right.
So obviously, the academic application of the words in the Rig Veda is going to slightly differ from a religious application, right? That you're hearing from a priest. And I think both are valid because application 3,000 years later also matters.
I mean,
right?
It's fascinating to me
and the people who are doing the amazing translation work of figuring out also this archaic version of Sanskrit that is not even the Sanskrit in the Rig Veda. So I think both are super valid and amazing.
To me, this is the most primordial form of art that we're dealing with here. And 100%. It's fascinating that this is still the basis of a religion that, 3,000 to 5,000 years later is still alive and kicking and very vibrant and creating new poems. I think in order to be a priest, to be a pandit, to be a guru, to be a rishi, you have to be an artist, right?
I think there's something so key here in what you're saying, especially really underlining the word artist.
Yeah.
Because some people will maybe run with that and be like, creation, they're the ones creating. But that's actually where the difference is between pretty much every other religion in the world, well, maybe in the West, and Eastern philosophy particularly, is that it is insight induced.
Yes, 100%.
The realizations and the stories and everything comes because we looked within.
Yes.
Not because we received it externally.
Right. Well, I mean, the Vedas are considered Shruti, right? Which is that which is revealed, right?
I think it's revealed through self-inquiry.
Exactly. Yes. So that's what I was about to get to. Yes, exactly. And
I listen, Pranav.
I know you do.
I listen to your podcast. I might produce it too.
It would be hilarious if you just put headphones in while I'm doing this and you're just like on your phone or you're listening to music. But I mean, that's exactly right? Is that it comes from insight. It's all about revelation. Every creative act is an act of revelation.
100%.
We all like to think of it as an act of construction, of we're building something and we're the creators of this. No, it's actually an act of revealing something, right? Looking within, looking outside, looking within, but always peering deeply into a thing to reveal the truth of a thing. And that's what the Rishis were doing. The Rishis are the artists. That's what they are. They're all poets. They're all vagabond poets, actually.
I think their notorious and amazing and infamous temper is also that kind
of an artist
temperament of like cursing someone.
Exactly.
You can talk to any artist. We have that temperament,
dude.
Right?
They're always cursing people if they interrupt their meditations or whatever, or if they get a sacrifice wrong or something. They're very temperamental beings. We're temperamental beings as creative people, totally. And I think they really were artists, dude. And
amazing.
They're just incredible poets. And the Saptarishis, and of course, there's many different phases of Saptarishis. And you brought up an interesting point, Adi, which is that it's not even just that they were just individual poets or artists doing their thing.
These are houses.
These are like houses of it, right?
It's like fashion houses. So what I was saying before we recorded was that it's like a fashion house or like a painter who has, or sculptors. This happened a lot in like schools of sculpt, or even in schools of philosophy.
And schools of poetry.
Right? Which is you have one poet who kind of sets the formula or the foundation or the style, the aesthetic.
Yes.
And then from there, the descendants and the students, they carry that tradition, right? So I think when we think about the fact that, different mandalas of the Rig Veda are written by different rishis.
Yes, exactly.
Right? And it's important to also remember that this is a collation of multiple different poetry houses coming together.
100%. With one editor-in-chief, which was Vedvyasa.
100%.
Right? He was the compiler. That's what his name meant. He was the compiler of these things.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Do you think with Vedvyasa, because I think he might be the most intriguing figure in just dharmic everything.
Yeah.
Because he's the compiler.
Yeah.
And to me, there's some sort of like connection to the way, theater people talk about Shakespeare here, right? Which is Shakespeare. It's very possible he was this one man.
Yeah.
Obviously, but it's also possible he was the face of many.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, again, that plays in, I don't know, this is very speculative, but Vedvyasa, because he also appears for thousands of years.
He's in thousands and yoga. He's there, right? But one thing that we did learn in the Yoga Vasishta, right, is that in every epoch, a new Ved Vyas will pop up, right? A new Indra will pop up. A new Shiva will pop up, actually, right? These are all beings that are reincarnated in different forms, right? We remember, maybe it was Hiranyakashipu, or who is his older brother? Hiranyaksha, who after his beef with Vishnu or whatever, I think it was him, and I could be wrong about this, guys, was then granted grace and was then said, hey, listen, you know what? In the next epoch, you're going to be Indra. You will have the title of Indra. These are actually titles more than they are individual personalities, right?
Wow.
And so every story that we're reading about them in, we're dealing with maybe perhaps different Ved Vyasas in each of these different stories, right? Because it
funnels down to bhakti as well, right? And the individual's relationship with a god as well. It's like Indra to one is not necessarily going to be the same Indra to the next.
Of course, yes.
Or Ganesha.
Yeah.
I think Ganesha is a fantastic example because wildly revered around India and prayed to, but the next door neighbor prays differently to Ganesha.
Of course,
and asks of different things.
And you know, people use different poems too that they recite in their honor, right? Different shlokas, stotrams, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just I mean, I don't know. I was just kind of in awe of it because, again, the past few nights I've been reading the Vedas, and you know, a lot of it is very abstracted things from what we're used to now as modern Hindus, right? We're not reading the Vedas necessarily and doing puja around them necessarily, right? Like you, me, our workaday Hindus. But everything that we're reading is derivative of these works. You know what I mean? And
for anyone interested of learning about people who still do practice Vedas very authentically, I would recommend reading Vedic Voices.
Vedic Voices,
and I'll put the title of the author's name below because I'm forgetting right now. But it's a really great insight, especially for any Telugu people from the Godavari area.
Okay.
That's part of the tradition that's been held there.
Love it, dude. Love it.